The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers Cable or Rogers TV.
Hi, and welcome to Politically Speaking. I'm David Shearman. My guest today is Mayor Ian Boddy, who is the mayor of Owen Sound, and certainly no stranger to the program, but he's not in Owen Sound today. Ian, you've got a green wall behind you instead of the really nice glass walls of City Hall. Where are you?
Well, I'm down at the Nuclear Innovation Institute at Tiverton for the Clean Energy Frontier Summit, the second or third one, and they allowed me to use the boardroom, so it's where I am.
Well, there's something in television called a green screen.
Well, I was just thinking that as I was talking, you can probably put up all kinds of things around me, and it'll maybe look like a superhero or something, or less than a superhero.
Well, as long as we know where you are and that you're attending to city business, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Now, what is the Nuclear Innovation Institute? Just since you're there, maybe you can give us a brief rundown.
Set up a number of years ago, Bruce Power and actually Saugeen Shores and the county of Bruce and lots of industry that's involved in the nuclear world to look at education, development and innovation of technologies and things, as they have been doing the major component replacement over here at Bruce Power. Certainly a big supporter of the Southwestern Ontario Isotope Coalition, and a thing that's kind of nuclear around Grey Bruce, Huron, the NII, or Nuclear Innovation Institute's right in the middle of it.
Yeah, and Owen Sound has got a nuclear support industry. There are a number of companies that are supporting Bruce Power. So we have industry connections right here in the city.
Well, I was sitting down on the main floor there with Steve from Stevcon Packaging that packages a lot for the nuclear industry, and of course BWXT is up there, and I'm going to blank on others, but when it comes to clean energy, then we're also talking about Ontario Pump Storage. We're talking about hydrogen optimized. We're talking about the potential of the public energy peak hydrogen plant that they're looking at putting in Owen Sound, and so yes, the whole region is involved.
Yeah, Bill Walker is connected with the Nuclear Innovation Institute, is he not? I thought he had when he retired from politics, he went over there.
No, it wasn't the NII specifically. It was OCNI, which is the lobby group really for the entire industry, and then went to Atkins Realis. And I understand a couple of weeks ago that he's moved to BWXT. So he stayed involved in the nuclear business, but has moved to a couple of different agencies.
You can't tell the player without your program.
Yes.
And the other thing is the number of acronyms. I mean, BWXT and NII, on and on and on.
Yeah, it's a learning curve just to learn who the players are, and yeah, for sure.
Now, just this tells you how old I am. But BWXT is, I believe, their predecessor was Babcock and Wilcox.
I think you're right. In the States, big presence in Cambridge, and now a presence in Owen Sound, and they are shipping from the Owen Sound location big pipes, big vessels, and things to Darlington and all over. And more welders they can get in Owen Sound, the more they'll keep going. They really like being up in our area.
So you're saying that I know somebody whose spouse is a welder, and are no longer employed. Maybe I'll just mention it to them. They're looking for welders.
Yep, they absolutely use welders, as does McLean Engineering uses a lot of welders for their big mining equipment. Yep, absolutely. There's a demand.
Good. Well, hey, I have a family member who spent a lifetime welding buses. And did great at it. So there's obviously a career there.
Well, and the other person that I'm sitting with, I've been talking to, is Dave Shorey from Georgian College in Owen Sound. But it's really the Grey Bruce campus of Georgian College. And I forget how many trades they have signed up and are training through Georgian College. And that's another important thing for the coming years as the post-war baby boom ages out and retires. The replacement for skilled labor throughout this region. You look at Bruce Power's major component replacement, eventually construction of Bruce C, potential, if it goes forward, Ontario pump storage, et cetera. There's going to be a lot of work for kids with trades. So if you've got a teenager looking for something to do, wants to live in the region, can make some really, really good money. Some of them will be doing a lot better than lawyers in the region, to be quite honest. And it's a great career, a trade in welding or machining or power engineering at Georgian College.
Sure, sure. Lots of opportunities.
Yes.
Lots of opportunities. And one of the things that, speaking of which, I really would like to kind of touch on some of the housing that is exploding, literally exploding here in Sound. I'm thinking of two in particular. There was the groundbreaking at the old BCK site, which has its a new name, but I've been in this town long enough to remember at least the structures. And when they blew up that one building, and then I see that the Edgewater building is now open for rental. So
I would add to those also the old RCA site, which is Skyline down the East Shore, and the construction that's going on there to put in apartments that we did a sod turning. Certainly since the last time I was in Rogers Cable, but it's a couple of weeks ago. You know how they talk about in the music business, instant stardom, where somebody's been kicking around for 10 years. We've been working on developing, attracting development and investment to the city for years. Site plan approval has gone through the planning department, been approved a couple of years ago. There's been 10 years of work to get us through to a couple of announcements that have come in the last little while. So it is great to see industrial properties, formerly industrial properties, especially being used for housing, especially BCK that's right downtown is nice because it's a walking distance to grocery stores and to restaurants in downtown, and that's really going to help out the River District. And then, of course, taking an old commercial property and converting it to residential, just right at the corner of Ninth Street and First Avenue West. Again, downtown, lots of residents. These are all really positive developments for the city.
sure, and then we've got St. Clair Place which they're not. I don't see any groundbreaking there, but I would expect sometime in the spring we'll start to see some things moving there.
So in behind Kentucky Fried Chicken is St. Francis Place, and it will. I think we're talking about the same one. This is the
Yes, we are.
Yeah, Lutheran Social Services are going to put up some units there that will be in all affordable. I think is the plan. I know the BCK one has also got 10% affordable. It's a way for the federal government to be able to get money out to developers is through the Canadian Home and Mortgage Corporation making loans that will be at a little better interest rate to get people to build affordable, and it's a great program. So
Yeah. I don't know whether speaking of CMHC, they've got this housing design catalog of 50 almost permit ready, and that's a quote, housing designs. And I was just reading yesterday that the town of Whitby down in Durham region has approved 4 specific designs from this catalog. They've gone through the catalog. Their planning people have said, hey, this is the kind of building we want to have in Whitby. And it'll be really interesting to see if developers, because it's developers who will pick up on this, not necessarily municipalities, but I think it's really exciting to see these kinds of initiatives.
Well, we grew up certainly in Owen Sound with post-war
Mm-hmm.
houses that are, that they've got a similar look to them, and
Yep.
were built quickly to be able to provide homes quickly for soldiers coming home, starting families, etc. So it's the same idea. If you want to get homes up, come up with some simple designs, and hopefully there will be suppliers that will put together packages to make it work quickly.
Apparently, that is what has happened. The industry was consulted. And they look like really nice. They're not big, but they could be. They will fit a variety of settings, and they're customized for climate. Like you're going to find a building for the Northwest Territories is a lot more insulation than one in Ontario.
That makes sense. It is so important for the shortage of housing that it's got to come from federal and provincial that have got the deep pockets, are allowed to run deficits, et cetera, to get this done. We can't do it as municipalities alone.
Hmm. It is really a partnership, isn't it? The three levels of government have to be partners in doing this.
Yeah,
Each have a role to play.
have to be on the same page. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I've said before that I think for every dollar of taxes that's raised, I think it's 9 cents that comes to the municipalities. But yet we're carrying 65% of the infrastructure and roads, bridges, et cetera. So it's Big Brother needs to buck up, I think, is the to be frank. That's where the money has to come from to make it work.
Well, I will say that I want to compliment the city because the fall paving schedule has, if it isn't completed, they're working on it. Several streets in my own neighborhood are now complete. The pavement was shaved off. I'm trying to think of the proper term for it, but they
Milled.
milled. Thank you. It's been milled, and new pavement laid down, and around and all of the stuff around the access points has all been cleaned up. And I think they discovered something additional needs to be done. So it was good to see.
Well, approximately 15 years ago, when I came onto council, there's a study shortly after that if at the rate we were going, it was going to take us 100 years to repair all the roads that needed it now at that point. And of course, as roads age, there's going to be more deteriorating. So we've tried to put money aside. Like everything, what's the economic definition of scarcity? Scarcity is unlimited demands, but limited means or limited resources. So we try and put some money into roads each year to try and get caught back up. Anytime we can grab a grant from Big Brother that I was just saying we need more from, we have been getting good money from them on infrastructure, and we invest it as quickly as we can to get roads and different infrastructure updated.
Yeah, and there is a capital plan as well. For this kind of thing. But yeah, it's nice to see. I mean, it's going to take time, but
yes, it does. It does take time. We've got a running 5-year capital plan, so that we're trying to avoid spikes in certain years of where we've got to spend, and so we'll put money into a reserve to try and balance out that spending over 5 years. And of course, it's rotating year after year, so we know what should be coming this year, what should be coming next year, what should be coming the year after, and plan the financials for it. We've been doing that for a number of years, and that's certainly helped us keep our tax increases low the last few years, which, a few years ago, we were one of the highest taxed especially industrial in the province. And now we're back down into the mid-range in residential and per capita, and low range for industry, which allows us to attract some new industry. So it's a lot of work, but it's trying to balance the books and keep them level.
And speaking of books, there are two sides to the budget, as we suggested. One is capital, which is done separately from the operations budget, and with the strong introduction of strong mayor powers, there's a new process for the city budget, is there not?
Yes. So with strong mayor powers, back in the spring, I waive them. I don't need them. If I'm making a common sense decision, then I expect council is going to make the same common sense decision. So not needed in our municipality. However, when it came to budgeting, it's strong mayor's budget, or the mayor's budget that is set up there. The only way we could put it back to council is to wait until something like the 23rd of February. And that's too late to start to budget and plan the budget out, to think about spending in the spring and all the things that you need to do. So we've started the budget process. So council, I've been meeting with each councillor individually to get their input on what they think the limit is, the maximum threshold that we can raise taxes, what programs they think are important, or policies, or what they want to identify. And we're just in the middle of that. We'll collect those ideas. Certainly, staff who look at contract wages, it might be unionized, negotiated wages, et cetera. There's certain increases that have to happen. We certainly want to look around us at comparable municipalities, whether it be within Grey and Bruce County or similar in size across the province, and see if we are in line. And we've been very lucky that we've been below most of those the last number of years, to try and get a sense of what that fair balance is, and whether we can add a few services, whether we need to cut some services, whether there's things that are costing us money that very few people use. So we'll have a good look at it. Once I've approved the budget, then it's presented to council as a final budget. They need to bring, the rest of council needs to bring motions with a majority of them to seek changes. The mayor can veto those changes, and then 2/3 of council can veto that mayor's veto. So it's a lot different, and it's the first time we've done it.
I'll bet you your head hurts.
Yeah, it does. It does. To be very honest, it's not the responsibility I want to have as one person. But at the same point, we've got a great staff, a responsible staff. A couple of years ago, we looked hard at other municipalities. When you remove policing, that might be a variable, because there's OPP, there's city. You remove fire, that might be a variable. Transit and waste, all of those are variables. And when you compare everything else that a municipality does, we found on a per capita basis that we're actually lower than most other all the other municipalities, and especially providing the services that we do. So, by eliminating those things, it's we're in good shape. It's when you add those things that the costs start rolling up.
That's very true. It's a kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, isn't it?
Well, let's go back to what it is that a municipality does.
Yeah.
And we provide the services that the community wants and can afford. Now, we're forever we'd like to add something to the services, but can we afford it? And then are enough people going to use it? So, you can get 10 really loud people come to council and say, we need to do this. And it doesn't necessarily represent the whole community. And that's hard for elected people who represent the whole community, have that responsibility to make those decisions, and that's always a challenge.
Hmm. Yeah, it's probably one of the hardest things that any municipal councillor has to do, and mayor. Although I have noticed or noted that in my last interview with the mayor of Meaford, they're doing the very same or very similar process.
Yep.
That it is the mayor's budget, and Mayor Kentner did give some very valid reasons why he chose to do it that way. It was intentional. And so, it's going to be all over the map across the province with all 444 municipalities. You're going to all do it, some same, some different.
Well, all municipalities pretty well have to follow that procedure that are over 5 councillors. So that came from the province, the procedure, unless they want to wait till the end of February, and that's brings on other challenges and other difficulties. Just when I think about it, we've just hit development and taxes, and how do those two relate? If we have a commercial building that's reassessed and appeals their assessment, we can add 20 new houses, and one adjustment to a commercial building can bring that down and bring us out even. So we haven't benefited from that growth. The growth that we're seeing right now, some of it will be in the 2026 budget, but not that much, because the buildings have to be completed before they get taxed. They have to be completed. And then MPAC, which is a agency appointed by the province, has to go and assess them. So from the time that they get their occupancy certificate and start to put residents into those buildings, it's another 6 months to a year before MPAC will assess it, before the city starts to collect taxes on it. So we're still a couple of years away from seeing the next council and the council after that are going to benefit from those developments that are hitting our streets right now.
So don't look for those golden piggy banks quite yet.
Not yet. Yeah,
Probably 2027, 2028, that kind of thing.
I think that's fair. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's also then you get into the question of development charges and the waiving of development charges, and that's causes a lot of confusion. I don't confess to know anything about it other than what I've seen at council, but it's complex stuff.
It's very complex stuff, and I didn't really prepare today to answer that one, so I won't go too deep into it. However, development charges have to be spent on costs of growth, of new things. They used to be more diverse. Now they're narrowed down to really roads and infrastructure mostly. We waived them, and then the province has pushed waiving them on purpose-built, which in other words, rental housing, because there's a big need for housing right now, rental housing especially. So we don't collect development charges on those. And that's a provincial thing mostly, but it's also a decision that council made, trying to attract the type of investment that we're getting.
Yeah.
They don't go into taxes. They can't be spent. They're not in lieu of taxes. They're not for general operations. They have to be, there's a very specific thing you can spend them on. And that has to be identified when the plan is made. The plan has to be around for a couple of years. It's complicated, but it isn't really a tax that we're allowed to spend, or it's not free money.
Well, no matter what we think, there's never totally free money, no matter what. Yeah. Sometimes it's just transfer from one pocket to another. But yeah, I think you're bang on there. Speaking of the use of taxes, I noticed that our MAT tax has now got a number attached to it, and there's a staff person that they'll be looking at how to spend that MAT tax.
I think they've taken some applications in for the for tourism specifically. It's to support tourism. Yeah.
Again, it's a designated amount of money that's got to be spent in a particular way.
Yes.
Yeah. And It almost seems as if the province is tying municipalities' hands, but I guess that's their right.
Yeah. I don't know what you mean by that, but then again,
Well, you can only
that
spend it in a certain way. You
okay,
cannot. That's what I mean by tying your hands.
yes, correct. I think 50% of it is to those who apply for tourism-related
Yeah,
expense, and then others of it comes into the municipality for tourism-related expenses. Correct.
yeah. So it's not as if we've got you're getting again. You're not getting free money. It's a
Yeah.
specific purposes. And by the way, speaking of development, I have noticed that over on 28th Street East, the new St. Mary's High School site is
28,
just
28 Avenue.
28th Ave. Sorry, I
Yeah,
still
there
get
we go.
I
Yeah.
keep getting streets and Aves confused, and I've been here 25 years. Come on, I'm. But my point is that they are doing a lot of site prep work over there to get ready for that. I would expect we'll start to see work, even if not necessarily through winter, but certainly early in the spring.
Well, we start to calculate at City Hall. They pay attention to the dollar amount of development that's come in the year. I think our last peak year was in mid 70s millions of dollars, mid 70, 75, 78 million dollars. I can't remember. And that included the rec center at approximately 35 million. I'm not bang on my numbers here. Without government spending, I think our best year has been in the 60s in millions. And this year we're at 216 million dollars of development so far, which does not include St. Mary's School, which has not come in yet, and a couple of other private projects that potentially could be in before us before the end of the year. So this has been a huge year. And that means that the planning department and the engineering department has been really busy the last 2 to 3 to 4 years to get to this point. You know, the stuff behind the scenes that nobody sees has been going on. So the school will be a big benefit to the development of that area. They needed enough space. They tried to find different spaces to over the last number of years to find this one. To be able to put in the track and the fields and the parking and that type of stuff. St. Mary's has a lot of students that come in from the region by bus, and so that's a different facility that they need to be prepared for. So they've started to prepare the soil, and we'll get the plans and get them approved as soon as we can.
Well, I have to say that my trips to the compost site are not quite as quick as they used to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and even it's busy when you get there.
Well, I know.
Good.
Well, Ian, we're going to have to take a break, and we'll be back. It's somebody wants to talk to our viewers, so we'll let them. I'm David Shearman. This is Politically Speaking, and we will be right back.
This program is brought to you by Rogers Xfinity, connecting you to more of what you love. Visit Rogers.com for more details. You're watching Rogers TV.
When I was little, my mother took me to the zoo. My love affair began right there. I wanted to know everything about giraffes, but there were no books, so I went to Africa to study them myself.
I was expecting Mr. Enos. You misrepresented yourself.
I certainly did not. I am A. Innes.
If I knew you were Miss A. Enos, I never would have invited you.
Exactly.
My research was considered groundbreaking and published in the world's top scientific journals. I became known as the first authority on giraffes. Discrimination against women in Canadian universities prevented me from getting tenure, but my love for giraffes persisted all my life.
My mother, Dr. Anne Innes Dagg, was the first Western scientist, man or woman, to study any African mammal in the wild. In 2019, she received the Order of Canada.
1-0 pitch.
Swing and a foul ball. Left field in deep. Rosalina returns. Good! Let's go!
Hi, and welcome back to Politically Speaking. I'm David Shearman. My guest is Ian Boddy, who is the mayor of Owen Sound. And, it has been a long time since we've talked because of all the changes, your schedule and our changes here at Rogers, but it's good to talk to you. It's good to always.
We also had an election, I think, in the spring too, that took over the airwaves for a month or so that I'd forgotten about, May or June or something.
Yeah.
So,
and speaking of elections, we're just, as we're taping this, we're just a year from election day for the municipal elections.
yes.
So that will be dominating some of the conversation for some.
I hope not for councillors, for the simple reason I say this every 4 years. We're elected to be councillors for 4 years, conduct the business of the city for 4 years, not 3 years, and spend the other year campaigning on our taking advantage of our opportunity to rerun. So I hope we all focus on doing the business of the city and leave the election stuff until next spring.
Yeah, you may be right. You may have that hope, but we will always see.
Well, some may get scolded if we need to. That's business first.
Yes, pay attention to the business. We're here for We're here for governance.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to come back to something that's been kind of an ongoing agenda item in the city for several months, if not, I would say 18 months, and that's Vision 2050. And the report has come in, and what are your thoughts on the results of Vision 2050?
Well, you asked what my thoughts are on it. So I'm going to give you, from my personal view, I was never a big fan of strategic plans. I was in different organizations that would make them, and then they went in a shelf, and it didn't really matter. We brought in a professional after 2015 to help us put together a strategic plan, which got me closer to understanding and appreciating them. Did a lot of consulting with the public. When our current city manager, Tim Simmons, came along, he did an update of that plan, and we added in specific goals that were measurable. We're going to do this in this period of time, et cetera, that staff really bought into. You see them on our reports coming to council. And now I get it. And I think they're really important. So with that, knowing that we're going to redo the strategic plan, we got some help again from J. Pitter Placemakers to help us consult with the public and bring in the ideas for the corporation of the City of Owen Sound. We didn't want to do a 5-year plan. We wanted to think long term. Realistically, 25 years is a long time, and there's going to be a lot of change in there. But council is going to be able to adjust it. But to be able to look down the road, knowing that change is going to happen, to be prepared for that change when it comes at you, or be prepared to accept that change when it comes at you, whatever it is sort of the long-term thinking. So there's, I think, 7 pillars that staff will develop out and work on, and the next council, after the next election, will pick out some that they want to work on, that they think is important during that term, and then the next council will do the same thing. So one of my mottos has always been leave it better than you found it. Don't leave garbage in the park after yourself. If someone else's garbage is there, pick it up and take it when you're taking your own garbage. That's just the way I was when I hiked in the Bruce Peninsula, and et cetera. So it's still the same. So trying to leave concrete plans and service review doing the same thing, modernizing how the city does things, to be more efficient, to take advantage of today's technology, and prepare the city to move forward in the future. So leaving it leaving the city in better financial position, better in growth tax assessment position, and certainly with a strategic plan and with the service review, leaving the city in a better position to move forward than perhaps in the past.
Thank you for mentioning the service review, because I think they seem to go. I'm not sure the connections were often made, but they seem to go hand in hand quite nicely, because you have the strategic plan is very high level, and the service review is more operationally oriented.
Correct.
And was more finding efficiencies, looking for ways to do things differently. And I've followed that on the council reports, and it does seem it's taking time, but it does seem to have some kind of energy to it, and some very interesting ideas have come out of it.
Well, we did service review a few years ago, but this time it's been really digging to the depths of the organization and getting ideas in from departments and all the way up of, how many times you hear an employee in any kind of business saying, I don't know why we do it this way. And the boss says, because we've always done it that way. We wanted to get away from those. If there's somebody that's the bottom line saying, I don't know why we do it this way, why don't we try that? We want to hear those ideas. And that was the whole concept of bringing those ideas forward. So I suppose service review is how we do it. Strategic plan is more what we do and why we do it, in a sense, if you look at it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think to see the two together is not as complementing each other might be a good way to look at it.
Yeah, I think of them as running parallel, but sort of having two different worlds. But certainly the strategic plan, we reached out a lot more to the public, where the service review, we reached a lot more internally to staff and from within the corporation.
Yes, I also noticed that there was a fair amount of work within the staff around project management. That there was not just okay, how many widgets do we need? It's how do we figure out how many widgets we need? And there was training that seemed to go hand in glove with that, with staff, sort of new ways of looking at things as well, which is quite remarkable for any organization.
Well, yes, exactly. And that's, I'm talking about using today's technology to prepare for the future. I'm trying to think of a good example, and I'm not coming up with a perfect one, but timesheets. Everybody has to write out a timesheet, and they've got to give it to their boss, who gives it to their boss, that gives it to HR, that enters it into the computer. Well, if everybody could enter it into a site, and the foreman can go through and tick a box to say that's accurate, and away it goes, and it goes into the computer, and it's, the wages and everything are calculated. Why are we doing it with a piece of paper? That might be one example, but there's lots of others of different ways that we can do things. A development comes in that's got to deal with planning, has to deal with engineering. Everybody might have different input in. It will get circulated out to Conservation Authority, to Bell Telephone, to Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, to probably cable TV or cable communications, telephone, post office, those types of things. All those answers need to come back, and there's more technology that you can use to pull them together versus somebody having to tick a box if they receive the answer back.
I also recall a city manager referring to something in one of his presentations as single point of contact in the plan, in terms of planning. So instead of having to go to 4 or 5 different offices, there is a single point of contact, which is an efficiency.
Yes. We're pretty good in that. It's just tightening up a little bit more. We've now got one counter at City Hall. Yeah, I first went on council. Planning was downtown, and engineering was up in the McDonald building up on 16th Street. And somebody coming in wanting to add a garage or something would have to run back and forth and get information from engineering and bring it back to planning. And if they miss something, have to drive back up. So now they're all on one side of the building. They're having lunch together on Fridays, and the planning can basically shout across the room to engineering, and I'm exaggerating a little bit, but being able to communicate right there and work things out. So if you can add one person that's then the contact with the, I'm going to call it the client, but the developer or the person putting in the garage that may not be a sophisticated developer, but still needs help. And they can look at one computer site, come up with the answer and tell them, and that works better for everybody.
Sure. It's actually quite something to see the progress that has been made over the years. It's quite remarkable.
Yep. Yeah. Yes. I've been so lucky to be sitting in the chair that I am. Hopefully a catalyst to some of it. Certainly we're lucky to have our city manager, Tim Sibbons, there, who has got experience in a lot of things like this and thinks progressively the way I think, and very supportive council and staff that have not said this is the way we're going to do it. This is the way we've always done it. We're going to stay that way. So staff that's really willing to move forward and think forward and accept new ideas and be challenged. And it's been really fun to be around City Hall and see all that stuff going on.
I remember the old City Hall and the structures that it was. And there was a lot of kerfuffle over the rebuilding of the City Hall, but you're describing what's happened by renovating the City Hall. You've created a more efficient, but also a better culture within the city to make it better for everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, what I'm jumping on is, hey, we eat lunch together. Not all the time, but once a week.
Physical walls became communications barriers.
Yeah.
Removing those, it's changed everything. It's changed everything for sure.
Yeah, I know when I walk into City Hall, I can look from one end of the building to the other.
Yes.
You walk into the center atrium and you look, you come up to the first floor and you look one way, you can see all the way down to the mayor's office. And you look the other way and you can see right across to the outside wall in the clerk's office.
Yes.
Quite remarkable.
Yes. Yeah. HR's down there and at that end, and accounting and finance and clerks.
Yeah. One of the things that was raised has been lifted up by the Association of Municipalities in Ontario or AMO is Local Government Week, and the city has been doing some things for Local Government Week.
We let it. It was just one more thing on the list that we let slide the last couple of years, and I think Marion Kepke made the comment that we used to pay attention to this. We need to again. So staff reached out to councillors and we got to answer 5 or 6 questions. Not sure that all council participated. Staff took 2 or 3 of them, put together some slides, and have been putting them out on social media that are great.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm a great believer in letting kids know what their government is. And I know you and I have had that conversation before, but helping people understand how government works.
I think I harp that there's 9 councillors with 9 different social groups and 9 different sets of ideas, 9 different experiences that bring something to the table. As you go through some of those questions and answers in social media for the councillors that answered, you will see a wide array of answers to the questions that I think is pretty neat. It's an indication that we're not one mind when we come to the table. We approach things differently, and I think it's kind of neat when you read those.
Yeah. I have seen them, and it is, yeah, different. There's differences, but hey, you're all around the same table.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, all trying to get to the same end.
Yeah. 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 Um, One of the things that for people to engage in is committee work,
Yes.
and I've watched some committees from time to time, and I'm impressed with the depth of knowledge, but also the insights that citizens can bring to our city committees. But how do you get on a city committee?
Well, I think the applications are open right now on the city's website that you can go in if you want to be involved. Um, we've been having a discussion, and it's not a policy, so maybe I shouldn't say it, but um, we our next goal is trying to get those citizens that are there more engaged. And back when I first started, we would have our meetings down in the boardroom, and you could have just a discussion around the table on issues. And sometimes the meetings went on a long time. To be transparent, we must do it in front of a camera, which means the council chamber, which is a lot more formal. And it's not always easy for someone who's not experienced to push the button on the microphone and talk knowing that the camera's on. And again, it's different than having those discussions around the table. I don't know that there'll ever be a change back, but um, once people come, we being counselors and staff need to figure out how to work better with some of those bright minds that we do have coming, so they don't go away frustrated that they didn't feel comfortable speaking or that it went by too quickly. But it's just my observation. I don't know that staff agrees with me. It's a couple of other old counselors that I've had the experienced counselors that I've had the discussion with. You get in so much trouble saying the wrong words sometimes, but just counselors that have been around for a while that are seeing sort of the same thing and have the same general ideas.
Yeah, the transparency, which is a requirement in this day and age, is one of the things that has changed the dynamics. At the same time, I'm impressed. I continue to be impressed with the contributions of public members.
Yeah.
You know, and the other thing that they have to recognize, and I saw this today. You're probably aware the city of Calgary had just completed its municipal elections, and something like 2/3 of city council are newcomers.
Oh.
Yeah, and the mayor said, "Well, they're going to experience what it's like to stand at the end of a fire hose because they will have so much they have to pick up." And I think that's probably true of public members as well, because you've got to learn a bit about the law, you've got to learn, about the terms of reference, to some extent the way a meeting is run.
Yes.
Those kinds of things.
Well,
It's a lot of work, but I can say personally, because I've done it in a variety of settings over the years, it's actually enjoyable.
You're hitting it in the head, and you're saying it better than I was saying it. When for a new person to try and learn all those systems can be intimidating. So you hope to get them beyond that intimidation sooner, but it's that new experience of what's going on, and we try and have orientation and teach them some of that stuff, but it really comes down to experience.
Yes, and are they willing to learn? Are they willing to be open to the possibilities?
I think most are. I think we can do a better job of helping them. That's just my observation. But I may have chairs of committees ticked at me for saying this, because I'm not the chair of committees. I deal with 9 counselors that by this point have at least 3 years of experience, so it's a little bit different. But yeah, it's always something we can work on. But
absolutely,
we encourage someone who is interested in governance, interested in. Not necessarily single issue, because single issues don't come up as often as you think they might, and there might be a reason. You might have an idea that we've looked at, and there's a reason why we didn't move forward. We're looking at people that want to move the city forward in general, want to learn how it works. Maybe if they are interested in running for council in a year, that they'll sign up now and get some experience on that process. So when they do get to a council table in a year plus, they'll have a better understanding of what the system is, how it works, and we really encourage people to do that. But boy, if you're just interested in coming out once a month and being on a committee and moving the city forward and bringing your knowledge and expertise, we appreciate it.
Sure. And just to be clear, there is no salary for participation on these committees, or no honoraria.
Correct. It's volunteering. Yes.
It's a volunteer. And is there a lower end age limitation?
I don't know.
See, what I'm getting at is a student who is perhaps in grade 12 might be would they be considered as a potential committee member?
It will say on the application form if there's an age. There might be a provincial regulation or something that says they've got to be a voting age. I'm not sure. I don't ever remember getting an application for anyone as young as 18, even that could be there that we would consider. You've certainly got an opportunity or a leg up, I think, if an 18-year-old came forward, probably to be considered. Often they're heading off to college, or they're not going to be around for a couple of years, so they wait until their turn later.
Well, what I was thinking is someone who had an interest in politics, and I know they're out there because I've met them, might wish to at least explore the idea of the possibility of.
It will be in the application form.
Yeah.
So if there is a limit, I don't know off the top of my head.
That's fine. But the application forms are on the city's website.
Yes.
Good. Well, it's interesting stuff because you never know where it'll lead. But I know I've sat on various boards over the years, and I've always come away with some kind of it's benefited me probably before I've benefited them. So it's a great experience.
I've over the years, talked to different people that have been in committees that walked away and said, "Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that was why you had to do that."
Yeah.
Municipality is just a creation of the province, and I think it's something like 48 different statutes that we must follow under the Municipal Act. I forget, it's something like 64 regulations under the Municipal Act. Some of them are applicable, some aren't. So there's a reason why we do everything, and sometimes that's a learning curve.
Sure. Well, let's switch it up a little bit because we've got a big event happening on October 26th, 27th, the Tuesday?
Next Tuesday?
Yes.
Sit in front of City Hall?
Yes. That's a big one.
It is wonderful to welcome Heather Hiscox back, starting at 6 in the morning in front of City Hall. Live broadcast. I think she's hitting 5 cities in her retirement from her morning show on CBC. Grew up in my neighborhood, a little bit younger than I am. I've known her since she was 6 or 8. Really, we're all really proud of Heather, Cheryl Hickey, Janice Mackey-Frere, all of those people that went through CFOS. John Roberts, the head of news at Fox in the States, was J.D. Roberts, came through here. Antoinette Bowers, which is far before our age, that was on apparently Mutiny and the Bounty and Star Trek.
Yes.
Norm Perry, that was at Canada AM, came through here. Tony Ambrosio, that does sports, came through here. CFOS has been a huge learning ground, and it's great for someone like Heather that grew up here, Ontario Scholar, Miss Teen Canada. Like, she's worked very hard and done very well, and we're really happy that she's coming home to Owen Sound to celebrate her career.
And in case anyone is interested, this will be a full remote, which means there'll be a lot of technology on view.
Yes, yeah, it'll be pretty cool.
Will they be interviewing you? Do you know?
I suspect so.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to have at least one cup of coffee.
Yes, I've already met with them and had a few little discussions about different ideas. I'm not sure that. Well, no, I won't talk about high school yearbooks. I thought about it last night. I haven't pulled them off the shelf, but I know there's going to be things there that probably CBC staff are going to want. And I maybe shouldn't be saying that in case they look at me and roll their eyes and don't use it. But
Well, actually, I've got a full collection of my own high school yearbooks, and they're all locked away. Thank you very much.
were they on paper then, Dave, or was it?
Yes, they were.
They weren't.
They were on. They were on
rolls or-
paper. Not that old, Ian. Not papyrus. No. And actually, I took quite a few of the photos in my graduation year. So it was great fun. Great fun. Someone gave me a camera and turned me loose, and it was great fun. One other thing that's coming up is Owen Sound Sports Hall of Fame nominations, because that's a really important thing in this city, our Sports Hall of Fame, which is in the Bayshore. And nominations are open for this year's class, for the class of 2026.
I probably said this before. My dad went with Shriners to Peterborough to an event. So a beautiful Sports Hall of Fame in Peterborough that celebrated their history, came back and went to then Mayor Bob Rutherford and said, "This is a great idea." And he said, "It is a good idea, Jim, go ahead." Which this mayor maybe doesn't say that enough. Great idea, go ahead, you do it. So Dad did it with Shriners and Knights of Columbus, and they started it. And it started off with the theme that great athletes make great citizens. And when you go through all of those plaques on the wall, every one of them ended up doing something after their sports career, after their athletic career in their communities, and became really important community members and leaders. So it's pretty neat. So it is great to be able to focus in on the history of Owen Sound and the sports history, and really the citizen history is the idea behind it. And those applications are coming up. So we encourage people, if you know a good athlete that hasn't been recognized, that's represented our city well, to please fill out the application. And that,
or a coach or someone who has, that it's not just an athlete, because there are classes for coaches, for people who have been builders.
Builders, yes, thank you. Yes, correct. And again, that continues to be run arm's length from the city by an organization that works really hard year after year and does a great job.
Yeah. But that stuff is at the city, at City Hall website. Ian, believe it or not, we've come to the end of our time, and we've covered the waterfront, literally. So I want to thank you for being a part of Politically Speaking, and I know we're going to talk again. We will always talk again for at least another year.
Hockey Day in Canada, Women's Hockey Game University, and Santa Claus Parade, and Flipping on the Northern Lights are all coming up in November. It's a great month.
You got it. It's going to be a great month here in Owen Sound. So thank you, Ian, and thank you, friends, for being part of Politically Speaking. I'm David Shearman. We'll talk again.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
Hi, I'm David Shearman, host of Politically Speaking on Rogers TV. Join me this fall for more interviews with our local, provincial, and federal politicians. Politically Speaking on Rogers TV.
Do I have time for men? Yes, I do.
Is it chocolate?
Let's party!
Ladies, we're gonna do it. We're gonna slay this.
Sometimes your breath can be a little on the hot side.
It was a little tart.
You have this thing that you do that's phony.
Don't let this accent fool you.